most people aren't willing to put in the effort that it takes to be the best. Welcome to the Menlo Experience. I'm your host, Brad Sand, here with Kyle Bach, and I was just told this is our 16th episode.
16th episode.
2025, rolling into the new year.
Yep.
Episode 16.
We can drive a car.
We can.
Our podcast can drive a car now.
We just moved up a
That's
little.
right.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
16.
What does that mean? That felt like freedom when you were a kid, right?
Oh, man. That was the greatest. Although now they've got all these different, they just feels like they have freedoms. My 14-year-old, I've been trying to talk him into getting his learner's permit. And he just has no drive to do it right now because he has access to all of this information and he can communicate with his friends and stuff like that. And to us, we were just trying to get out of the house and be able to hang out with friends and stuff. But now he just didn't have to do that anymore.
It's wild.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to drive. And
that symbolized freedom, but they have some of those freedoms.
Yeah.
So much easier
you have a real good
at
point.
home.
Yeah, good point about they can communicate, they can interact and all that without going anywhere.
Yeah,
anymore.
you remember the long phones with the long cords that you had to that's how you were trying to get away to talk in private to anybody?
You didn't get upgraded to the cordless phone with the antenna that came out about
I don't know.
6
Maybe
feet.
my family was cheap and we didn't have cordless phones, but we had these long, you had just those curly, you know what I'm talking about? It was like a 20-foot one of those that you could
go
try to
wrap
just
around
hide
the
around
next
the
room.
corner or something. Yeah. Which didn't do anything because you couldn't get out of the room. But cordless was a big moment.
Jess over here has no idea what we're even talking about.
Do you know what a telephone was before a cell phone? She doesn't. She doesn't. No, you don't.
What about a rotary dial? She probably hasn't even seen that before. Yeah.
Jess, could you make the sound of the internet before the internet did not have a sound? You know what I'm saying?
Dial up.
Yeah, we know. We know what we're talking about. Can you make the sound of the internet?
No. All right. Yep. So
16
kids, man. All right. Well, we're 16, new life, rolling into the new year. How you feeling about it? We're a month in.
Yeah, month in. Honestly, I'm. You and I keep talking about this, but I'm just excited for 2025. I feel like we're turning some corners on, just even momentum going into the summer, going into the year, and feel like the team is really just coming on strong and turning the corners, and attitude and culture kind of dialed in. I'm excited for 2025, whatever number we're at.
What was that?
2025.
Okay.
I'm excited. Are you excited?
I'm excited. Yeah. I don't know. There's something about the new year, and I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. I don't do that. Most people do that and they give them up before the month's even over, right? Most resolutions have died at
you
this
just
point.
believe in having resolution, period.
Stay focused and keep it up. But there is an energy coming into the new year. I think where we're located here in Kansas City, it's gray, it's gloomy. You got to push through all of that. But I feel in the saddle, locked in, ready to go.
Yeah.
My son would be like, "Let's go, Dad. Let's do one of these."
That's right.
But locked in. So parallel that. Super Bowl's this weekend.
Yes. I feel like the team's locked in.
We don't know the result yet. We will know it once this comes out.
When this is launched.
But coming into this, I think it's interesting. I was talking to you about this earlier. 4 years ago, they showed a map of the AFC Championship, who they wanted to win. All but 2 states wanted the Chiefs to win.
Yeah.
Fast forward.
We were the underdog.
Fast forward now, AFC Championship. Only people in the country that wanted the Chiefs to win were Missouri and Kansas, right? So hometown states. Now we're dominant. We're on top. What's that mean? Why is that? Why were we the underdog? Everybody rooting for you. But when you make it somewhere, all of a sudden somebody turns.
I feel like just the majority of people love the underdog story, right? I feel like there's a energy behind supporting the underdog and taking down, take the man down. And, there's some element of just supporting an underdog that we like as a nation, as a just culture. We tend to like the underdog. So, but we've moved on in 4 years where we are no longer, the hunter. We are the hunted, and we're the top dog, and nobody likes that. And it seems like we've talked about that even with F1 with Max Verstappen. Nobody likes the guy that stays on top for a long time. He becomes the villain after a while. That's how we felt about Tom Brady for all these years.
Well, that's true in the U.S., but in Europe, everybody loves Verstappen because they admire his level of performance,
Yeah.
consistent performance. So
Yeah.
it's different where you are in the world. It's
Yeah,
very
we kind of
interesting
like
about the US.
adopting the new thing, the new, unproven, up and coming,
Yeah.
in Italy, for example, like they love Ferrari. It's an established, it's the best, it's the top, it's gonna be, and
Right.
it's a totally different perspective on the view of the top.
Yeah.
And I feel like we kind of villainize the top. And so although I also sometimes just wonder from a marketing side, are they just showing us, because of the algorithm, the maps of the Chiefs being the hated, and all of that stuff, and they're showing the exact opposite to the other side? I don't know. Sometimes
be.
I wonder. I'm not a Phillies fan, so
So here's the question, though, because we're pushing to be on the top
Yeah.
and stay at the top, right? So as you get there, there's tons of outside noise. You have this wind behind your sails for a long time, people cheering for you, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Think about this in terms of business competition or other factors in the market. Push, push, push. People are rooting for you. Now, look at the Chiefs. When you're on top, people are gunning for you, right? And you're the target. And as a team, you have to bond together and block out all that noise. So, as we continue to push up, how do you stay focused? How do you keep our teams focused? Certainly, I've got some ideas on that, but how do you block out the noise? How do you stay disciplined to the goals you're after?
Yeah, I like the phrase "block out the noise." I always think about focusing inside the boat, also just kind of the rowing concept. But there's so many things outside of the boat you can't control. But I think one of the things that Pat and the team does so well at is and the joke is don't give them ammo, right? Don't give them what do they say, refrigerator material or bulletin board material?
Mhm.
Like, don't give them something to hang up to go like, see, they don't believe we can do it, right? And they, some people say they did that with the Pro Bowl, right? Snubbing Mahomes in the Pro Bowl. I was talking to my wife, and I have a theory on the Pro Bowl. I don't think he wanted to go to the Pro Bowl because he was about to have a kid, so I think he just said no. But the snub, if it's a snub, I mean, that gives him something to kind of focus in and dial on
Well,
as the enemy.
Let's be honest. The Pro Bowl these days,
It's weak. Nobody wants to go to that.
Product needs to go
Yeah,
away.
they need to just push reset on that whole
exactly.
concept.
Yep.
Yeah, agreed. But I think as far as focusing, having the team focus, blocking out the noise, it's focusing on what we do well. And, even, we just got out of a meeting with one of our teams, but, focusing on the positives and focusing on, what we can control. Bringing people back to the why of what we do, and and what are the outcomes that we're aiming for of taking care of our customers. And you said it well in the meeting, but we take care of the customer. And does this fit in our contracts? Is this what we are supposed to be doing? Right, take care of the customer.
Take care of the customer.
And that's the commander's intent, behind all of the policies or procedures, processes, anything that we roll out. Take care of the customer. And if they default to that, then all of the noise and all of the frustrations. I mean, we can get so overwhelmed with those things, and then we become negative. We become pessimistic. We become you operate out of fear or you operate out of scarcity. But instead of any of those things, focus on what you can control. Be optimistic. Be positive. And I think as a leader, for me, just making sure that I'm constantly encouraging and supporting and downplaying some of the mistakes and failures, right? Not, we want to learn from those things, but we don't need to dwell on those things. And encouraging our team to, to push for greatness, encouraging them that we see greatness in them, right?
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, I think one thing that's highlighted with the Chiefs is find natural leaders on the team. Those standouts on the team that are going to set the tone and pace, right? I think as coaches, you can do a lot of that, but having those veterans in the team that have been there, been in the trenches, know how to stay focused, and really see beyond the glitz and the glamour, and what you're there to do. I think it's hard to do. I mean, it's hard to keep that level of discipline year after year, time after time. But those that have been there, I think, help kind of navigate. And so that's part of it. I also think it's just kind of interesting. I think about the story with the refs and the Chiefs, and you've heard all the narrative and all that. And it's interesting that, to me, how much people try and explain away greatness, explain away high performance. And I just think about people that we bring into the organization. I don't want anybody trying to explain away
Yeah.
I want them finding exactly what it takes.
Yeah.
Keeping focused on ultimately what you have to do at the end of the day, consistently, day in, day out. Kobe Bryant was somebody you talked about in the gym, working
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
before, he had been there 5-6 hours before somebody comes in for their first workout of the day, right?
Yeah.
And that's the difference maker. And you've heard me talk about it, but you just have to work harder than everybody else. You just have to do a little more than everyone else. You just have to go the extra mile. And I think you look at the Chiefs, they're preparing in OTAs, mini camps, all that sort of stuff. They don't stop. They're going to come right out of whatever the result is this game and go right back into it after a short rest, right?
Yeah.
So can't be one of those people that explains away stuff.
Yeah. Why do you think people explain away greatness like that? I mean, because I agree with that. I think that's a really interesting thought, because is that out of a personal insecurity? Where's that come from?
Yeah, I think if you don't explain it away, then you have to turn internal.
You have to deal with it.
You have to deal with it, right? And so being able to explain away greatness and all that is really a deflection of you having to really look internal and decide why you didn't get it done, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes there's reasons, you have medical reasons or health reasons or
Sure.
or family obligations or whatever, and you just can't do something at that point in your life. But generally, you can do just about anything you set your mind to.
I was going to
the
say,
explaining away.
I was watching a
deflection.
video this weekend of a 5'8" kid dunking in a basketball game, in a high school basketball game, and I've always explained away like
5'8". Wait, 5'8".
5'8".
So you're telling me I can dunk?
Yeah, I know, right?
I've got a little bit better than that, but yeah.
I was laughing as I'm
dunk.
watching it, because I'm like, I've always explained, I'm too short to dunk. No, truthfully, I just haven't ever
No
practiced.
springboard,
And I haven't ever tried. Like,
Yes.
because you can, up your ups, right? Like, probably not at
Up
my
your
age.
ups?
I
Is
don't
that-
know.
is that
your
a
ups?
coaching?
Oh man, can we trademark that?
Up your
ups.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right.
All right. We're
That's-
making t-shirts.
That's so fair. I bet no
The
NBA
Menlo
coaches
experience.
ever used
Up your ups.
Okay. All right. I like that.
That's the
All right.
subtitle.
Jess, you gonna
That's
get
right.
that
You
shirt
got that,
going?
Jess?
Okay. All right.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're gonna up your ups.
But I mean, like, yeah, when but you're right. We explain away, all the reasons we can't do something, which is just a bunch of excuses, but sometimes there's going to be legitimate things and stuff like that. But by and large, I think we explain away greatness and just say, we don't think that we're dealing with personal insecurities that we can't, live up to.
Yeah. I think it could
We
be
won't
it's
take steps to live up
insecurities
to.
or we're just not willing to put in the effort. And the effort that it takes. And sometimes people are born with different skills that are varying, and that's kind of who you are as a person, and everybody has individual qualities that they excel in, but it still takes work and effort and determination to be at that level, even if you have the raw talent, right?
Yeah.
And so it's somewhat maybe insecurity, but also it's just most people aren't willing to put in the effort that it takes to be the best.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so good to have a coach to help you push beyond your own internal limits, right? I mean, we've talked about this before. Pat Mahomes has got a trainer that pushes him, that he works out with, right? He's got Andy Reid pushing him and all kinds of other coaches on the team. You have to have something you can tap in beyond yourself a lot of times to get to that level.
Yeah.
And I think as leaders, that's our push. That's our really what we're here for, is to push people to achieve that. But
for you, who's somebody like in your life? I know you have a couple of people, but who are some of the people in your life that push you to aspire even to just another level? Who are some of those people? Because I think sometimes, it's easy. Like my kid, my 9-year-old has a coach, in soccer, but we get away from that. And I think we get to a point, when we get a job sometimes and we stop seeing the need to continue to develop at that point. We think we've arrived, right? We've got a degree or we've, or whatever. We've got a job. So, continuous development kind of stops a lot of times at that. Who's somebody, or what are things in your life that push you like that?
Yeah, I think the other, just before I jump into that, the other thing I would echo is, especially leaders in an organization, the higher you move up, the fewer there are in an organization to push you, right? The higher, think of Andy Reid.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to set internal bars that are higher than everyone else. And so for me, that's part of the challenge is internally I set a bar that's really high. Outside of that, I think there's probably two answers to that. One, certainly have mentors that impact me and help coach and provide that outside view and give a push. But also, my reference point matters. And so there's somebody that is almost always achieving more than you are, right? And so find out who that is, identify those people, Could be a lot, could be a little, but start to understand what they're doing,
Yeah.
right? And it can be even people that are not directly in your life, but you just observe what they're doing.
Yeah.
Dig deep, understand how they're approaching it, how get in their head, if you will, just by their actions or,
Yep.
there's plenty of influencers. I think that's a slippery slope sometimes because
Yeah.
there's plenty of people that pose that they're accomplishing a lot. But, I think that somebody has always achieved more than you.
Yeah.
Find that person, whether it's just through study and observation, or if you can get in direct contact, work your rear off to try and get that connection.
Yeah.
And start spending time with them and learning and just be a sponge.
Yeah.
That's me. I think it's I know you're the same, but you've got this internal barometer a lot that pushes that, or this bar that is almost unrealistic expectations in
Yeah.
some way.
I mean, for me, it's I don't ever feel like I've arrived. You know,
Mhm.
I think some people feel like they've gotten there already, and I genuinely come into a room a lot of times thinking I'm not the smartest person in this room, and I think when you come in, just with humility and wanting to learn from other people, it doesn't even have to be somebody who's over you in an organizational chart. It's you're constantly learning, and even in a meeting that we had today with one of our teams, that was there was one point where I know you went, huh? Does it really do it that
Mhm,
way?
mhm.
And those are good, like, just for the team to know, like, oh, okay, like we're learning things.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes looking internally is one thing, but you can also look externally, right? And so I think that I got met with a guy who was in a similar position as me at another company yesterday, and just asking him questions of what are some of the things that he's learning, and what are some of the books he's reading, and what are ways he's growing as a leader, and how does he manage prioritizing his family in the midst of prioritizing his drive and his ambition in business, and what does that look like? And
There's no such thing as work-life balance, right?
well, I didn't say balance, I said prioritizing.
I know.
those
I get that.
things.
I'm
Yeah,
just want to make sure.
no, I think you and I agree. I have a strong feeling about we go from ditch to ditch in these things.
Sure.
And so it's better to just realize when you've landed in a ditch instead of actually believing there's a balance in the middle. And so becoming faster of identifying, nope, I'm now, over focused over here, and I'm not focused enough over here. And usually my ditch that I just live in is struggling to prioritize anything outside of work, because I just love what I'm doing.
Love that.
And and so
Sorry, Tracy.
Yeah. She'll let me know when I'm overbalancing those things. And
it's a constant battle, but I think that you've heard me say this a bunch. You got to keep the goal in front of you, right? What are you after? And just keep yourself disciplined to that. I think it's unfortunately something a lot of people just give up on too early.
Yeah.
I don't know how better to say it. I think it takes a lot of strength and determination, and the people that are really, really successful just stay at it a little longer.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I sent you a quote from Goggins, but the idea and what you and I have been talking about recently back and forth is, how do we be uncommon among the uncommon?
mhm.
And I think that quote, just from his book, which was awesome. But I told you I was reading that while I was sick, and I was like, "You get back in the office, you lazy." But that's kind of just his mentality. But his,
Did my text message say that to you too?
you might have told
Okay,
me. I
I
don't
think
know.
it was
I
probably
don't,
okay.
you were probably nicer than that.
Oh,
I don't know. I was
yeah.
kind of internally just telling myself
Okay.
I was being a baby.
All right.
And but this idea of being uncommon is normal, but being uncommon among the uncommon was just this whole nother level above that. And so I thought it was, I feel like that's kind of my mantra, I think, as I'm thinking about it for 2025. How do I become uncommon among even uncommon?
Yeah, I like that. I mean, in 2025. So I'd be remiss if and I don't talk politics on this show, but observationally, 2025, new president. We're 2.5 weeks in, 3 weeks in administration, whatever it is. Lots of change. I mean, things. One could look at it and just say things are being turned upside down, ripped apart. If you're in an agricultural business, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
We're obviously in an education business. There's talk of dismantling Department of Ed, and that has federal impacts. It's completely different than state. But we talked about this a little bit. My reflection in it, you can't control any of that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at all of the stuff that's going on, and people are stressed about it. You can't control any of that. What you have to do, and what we have to do and drive for, is being agile and being able to pivot quickly, right?
Yep.
As a business, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's fundamental to what we do. So
Yep.
we've talked about it. Where's your head at in terms of how do we stay agile, right? I mean, it's
Mm,
harder as you grow, it's harder as you have more policies and procedures and all of these things. But the ability to turn on a dime could
yeah.
mean life or death to a business,
Yeah.
right? So, how do you approach that
Mm.
when you're thinking about, being agile and being able to pivot, whether it's personally pivot or, pivot the team or the organization?
I feel like agility in business has almost everything to do with perspective. So, all of these changes going on and for some people change and some of these situations just breeds fear and panic and immediately, even just saying fear and panic, my body reacts and kind of like tenses up and pulls back a little bit. But the idea of change and, even if you disagree with decisions that are being made, right? Even if you think it's all wrong or bad, the perspective of, okay, now what? And you say a lot of times in some of our meetings, okay, so what?
Mm.
Like, so what?
Yep. So what?
So they shut this down. So what? Even with my church board and talking about, so they shut this down. Like, so that's an opportunity for us to be more generous, right? Or they shut down the Department of Ed. Okay, so what? Like, what does that mean for us as a business? And I think that businesses or people that have the mentality of, okay, so what?
Mm.
This thing didn't work out how I thought it was going to work out, and the ability to have the perspective to on a dime go, okay, but now what's the new opportunity? As opposed to what's the new challenge, what's the new opportunity? It's a matter of perspective shift, and if you can look at things as a new opportunity, instead of sitting there and the woe is me and all of these different things, you can shift to seeing new opportunities, and those opportunities might be, new ways that we need to step out and be bold or step out and be generous or step out and, act and maybe even create a whole new product line, or service that ultimately fills some of those gaps. Right. And I think that, yeah, I was just, I was sharing a little bit with you, but, an organization that we are connected with personally as a family, needed a new funding goal because of some needs that were being pulled from the government that are normally funding some refugees in Kansas City, and that situation, they publicized this funding goal, and within a week it flew past that funding goal. And so we look at some of these things and that was a new opportunity for people to press into that need, and react and respond, as opposed to just react in fear and being paralyzed. And so I think as a company, how fast can we pivot? It's a matter of perspective and seeing the opportunity instead of seeing the challenge or problem. And so I think, for us, it's constantly as leaders, how do we help people see the opportunities?
Mhm.
Help them almost, so what? Like, this isn't going to phase us. This isn't going to, there's no limitation that can be put. And choosing that right now, as opposed to waiting until that thing happens. Department of Education, is folded overnight, new opportunities.
Yep.
And I think it's just a matter of perspective. What else?
I mean, yeah, there's a phrase I've always appreciated, which is every crisis has an opportunity. And I think you got to look for it. And I agree 100%. I think the extra edge, right? You talk about the uncommon with the uncommon is when you can see that before it's panic and you have to look, right? So
Mm.
always be looking around the corner, always
Yeah.
be anticipating what's coming.
That's skating to the puck, right?
That's right.
I mean, that's, back to it. Do you know what skating to the puck means, Jess? Not a hockey person, huh? Yeah. I mean, rather than going to,
Wait.
yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Go to the ball,
Yeah,
right?
go to
There's
the
no
ball.
difference, right?
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
to it, right?
And, skate to where you think it's going to be is kind of the concept of that. But
Yeah.
I think that whole concept is with education, with whatever it is, how do we skate towards that? So bless you.
It's a
It was that
cold
insightful.
season.
That's what it was.
It's cold
wasn't it?
season, man.
Hey,
Oh, God, I'm just choking me up. It's really
it was
choking me up.
that it was that good.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think we're off to a great start. Got to be agile. Got to pivot. Got to go for greatness. Got to stay in the team and
Mm,
be bonded together. Anything else? Like we're coming in the end on this podcast, but anything
mm.
else for 2025? What's the wrap?
Yeah. What's the score? What's the score for the game?
Oh, like predictions.
Yeah, prediction. I mean, who's the closest prediction? I'm gonna say 24-17. to 27. Butker wins it with a field goal.
Oh, okay. So Chiefs have only scored more than 30 points in one game, and that was the last playoff game against the Bills.
Oh, you think they're going over
this
30
season?
again?
So I'm gonna go 32-27.
Okay, that's a good
Chiefs.
guess.
I think it's
solid.
gonna be. I think it's gonna be kind of an offensive slugfest. But yeah, I feel like we're gonna go up a little bit, and we're gonna just have to fight to keep the lead.
Yep.
So that's my take on it. But we'll see.
We'll see what happens. By the time this comes out, they're going to know that we're either, psychics and
Savants,
we can predict the future,
Right. Yeah.
or we're absolute morons. And you should just throw everything we just said away.
Yeah, well,
There you go.
I mean, at least we waited to the end of the podcast to tell people to throw it away.
We can cut it out at the end.
Exactly. All right. Well, for now, this has been the Menlo Experience. I'm your host, Brad Sant, with Kyle Bach. We'll see you next time.
See ya.